What would you do if your own brother smashed your future while your parents just laughed? My name's Amber Harrison. I'm 27 years old, and last spring my brother Tyler destroyed my entire graduate thesis with one violent slam of my laptop. 18 months of research gone in seconds. But the real betrayal wasn't the sound of my screen cracking. It was what my parents said when I came to them sobbing. My mom actually chuckled and said, "Oh, sweetie, you're too sensitive." And my dad. He smirked and muttered, maybe she wasn't meant to graduate. They thought that would be the end of me, that I'd just give up. They had no idea what I would do next. But to understand what happened, you have to go back to the beginning. Back to the house where I learned that some victories are invisible and some wounds are made by silence. I grew up in a solidly middle-class neighborhood in suburban Michigan. White picket fences, block parties in the summer, PTA moms, and backyard BBQs. On the surface, it looked like the kind of place where every kid had a fair shot. But in our house, fairness had a name. And it wasn't mine. From as early as I can remember, I had this strange love affair with logic and patterns. At 6, I was solving basic algebra. By middle school, I was building rudimentary websites. My world was neat, ordered, precise. Code made sense. Variables responded, unlike people. My brother Tyler, he was the opposite. 4 years younger than me, all brawn and charm. He had this casual charisma that made people lean in. Teachers, coaches, neighbors, they loved him instantly. He wasn't cruel when we were kids. Not exactly. He just knew he didn't have to try as hard. Because he was Tyler, the golden boy. When I won my middle school science fair, my parents took me out for ice cream and spent the entire car ride talking about Tyler's upcoming soccer game. When I graduated high school as valedictorian and got a full ride to the University of Michigan, they attended the ceremony but left early to catch Tyler's junior varsity football championship. I remember walking off the stage in my cap and gown, scanning the crowd. My professors clapped. But my family's seats were empty. It was always like that. My achievements were side notes in the grand novel of Tyler's life. But I didn't let it stop me. I threw myself into computer science, earned honors every semester, picked up a summer internship with a data analytics firm in Detroit, and when I got accepted into a highly competitive master's program in advanced computational algorithms, I thought maybe this will finally be enough. Spoiler, it wasn't. Tyler dropped out of community college after one semester said it wasn't his vibe. Now he works part-time for our uncle's construction company, does CrossFit, and spends most weekends hosting parties in his truck or at our house. My parents. They still act like he's the second coming. Tyler fixed the garage door, my mom would beam. Tyler's working hard, he's just finding himself, my dad would say. Meanwhile, I was over here coding predictive healthcare algorithms that could help detect early signs of cancer, and they still called it Amber's computer stuff. I had been working on my thesis for 18 months. My topic wasn't flashy, but it mattered: an adaptive algorithm for analyzing large-scale healthcare data to catch early disease markers, particularly in underfunded hospital networks. My advisor, Professor Diana Martinez, believed in me more than anyone ever had. "This is real innovation, Amber," she said after one review. "This could actually change lives." That sentence meant everything. Because in my family, no one ever told me I mattered like that. The closer I got to my deadline, the more pressure I felt. I had built in layers of backup weekly cloud syncs, multiple external drives, but 3 weeks before submission, my cloud subscription lapsed. It was a careless mistake. I meant to renew it. But with so much happening, final revisions, job applications coding, I let it slide. My last external backup was from 2 weeks ago. The most recent work, the final algorithm tweaks the polished write-up, the precise formatting, it all lived on my laptop. Spring break came, and I made a calculated decision: go home to my parents' house for 1 quiet week, finish the thesis in peace, submit, defend, graduate. I even asked first, "Will the house be quiet during the day?" "Of course," my mom said. "Tyler's working. We'll leave you to your computer wizardry." So I packed up my gear, laptop notes, color-coded sticky pads, and went home. Big mistake. The house was chaos from day one. My dad had taken the week off to get yard work done, which meant running the leaf blower directly under my window while blasting 90s rock. My mom was planning some neighborhood brunch. Tyler apparently had adjusted his work schedule. When I asked for just a little quiet time, "Can't you work at the library?" my mom sighed. "Come on," my dad added. "This is spring break, not finals week." Except for me, it was. And my family just didn't get it. By Wednesday, I'd barricaded myself in my childhood bedroom. My desk was a temple of precision laptop, perfectly centered notebooks stacked by category formula cheat sheets posted on the corkboard. I was in the final stretch, and then the front door slammed. Loud voices echoed through the house. Tyler was home. Early. I checked the time. Noon. I'd been working since 6 a.m., focused on debugging a particularly thorny logic branch in my predictive model. I tried to ignore the noise, slipped in my earbuds, cranked up my concentration playlist. 20 minutes later, my bedroom door flew open. Tyler stood there with two of his old high school buddies, Jake and Brandon, all three of them holding beer cans. In the middle of the day, yo nerd Tyler grinned. "We're throwing a party tonight. Gonna need the Bluetooth speaker." I froze. "I thought you were working." "Plans changed." He shrugged. "Boss gave us the day off. Besides, it's spring break. No one should be doing homework." "This isn't homework," I said evenly. "It's my master's thesis. I have a deadline next week." Brandon leaned against my doorframe and smirked. "Sounds boring as hell." I stared at him, at Tyler, at this absurd frat boy reenactment inside my supposed safe space. "Can you just close the door?" I asked quietly. "I really need to focus." Tyler rolled his eyes and turned to his friends. "Jesus, Amber, lighten up. It's not like your computer project is saving lives or something. If only he knew." But I stayed calm. I breathed. And as they left, I saved my work and told myself, just get through the day. Keep your head down. Finish this. You're almost there. I didn't know it yet, but I was wrong. Because the real damage wasn't coming from outside my door, it was walking straight through it. The next few hours unraveled like a bad dream on loop louder with each pass. By 2:00 p.m., the music downstairs was rattling the floorboards. Bass thumps vibrated through my childhood posters, formulas, and code snippets, flapping gently against the walls. I tried noise-canceling headphones. I tried deep breathing. I even tried blasting white noise into my ears, but nothing could block out the drunken shouts, the laughter, the chaos growing just outside my door. By 3:00, it was unbearable. I saved my thesis again, muscle memory by now, hit Command+S every 3 minutes, just in case. When I stepped downstairs to grab water, the scene that met me looked like something out of a frat movie pizza boxes stacked on counters, beer cans. Lining the sink, a half-eaten bag of chips, overturned on the floor. Tyler and his crew, now 8 strong, were yelling at the TV over some multiplayer game, the volume maxed out. "Tyler," I called over the noise. "Can you turn it down just a little?" He didn't even look at me. "Can't hear the game if we turn it down." I took a deep breath. I can't hear myself think. I just need a few more hours of peace. Jake, now spread across the entire couch like some drunk sultan, laughed. "Dude, your sister's a buzzkill." Tyler's voice turned sharper. "This is my house too, Amber. If you need it so quiet, go to the library or something. I've got all my research here, my setup. I planned this week around being here. You said you'd be working." He shrugged. "Well, plans change." And then, because I guess cruelty runs on reflex in my family, he added, "The world doesn't revolve around your stupid thesis." Something inside me cracked a little. I wasn't being dramatic. I was being dismissed. "It's not stupid," I snapped, finally losing composure. "It's my future. Just because you couldn't last a semester doesn't mean the rest of us don't care about our education." It was meant as a defense, but it came out like a slap. Tyler's eyes narrowed, his jaw clenched. "At least I have friends. At least I don't spend every waking second trying to impress people who don't even like me." I didn't respond. I couldn't. I just turned around, filled my water glass, and walked back upstairs. My hands were shaking. When I sat down at my desk again, I couldn't tell if it was the caffeine or the adrenaline making my vision blur. but I forced myself to work, focused on a specific problem in my algorithm that required precision logical sequencing so tight that even a misplaced semicolon could corrupt the model. And that's when my parents came home. I heard the front door creak open, followed by my mother's delighted laugh. "Oh, what a nice surprise. You didn't tell me you were having friends over, Tyler." No mention of the noise. No concern over the mess. Just joyful approval. My father's voice chimed in, full of warmth and familiarity. "Hey boys, who's winning?" I waited for the music to drop for a voice to say, "Amber's working, let's keep it down." Instead, nothing. By 5:00 p.m., I was done. Done pretending, done hoping. I went downstairs again, found my parents in the kitchen unpacking groceries like nothing was out of the ordinary. "Mom." "Dad," I said, trying not to sound as desperate as I felt. "I really need it quiet to finish my thesis. The deadline is next week, and this is my last chance to revise the core model." My mom barely looked up. "It's spring break. Can't you just work around it? I've been trying to. All day. But it's getting worse." My father sighed. "Maybe you should have stayed on campus if it was that important. This is family time. Family time." Where my brother got drunk with his friends while I clung to the last threads of my professional future. "I asked you both before spring break if this would be a good environment to work. You said yes." "Well," my mom muttered, returning to the cheese platter we didn't know Tyler would have a little get-together. I blinked at her. "There are 10 people here. That's not a little get-together. It's a party." My dad chuckled. "Don't be so dramatic. Life goes on whether you finish a paper or not. No recognition, no understanding. Just condescension and shrugs." I stared at them, then turned around and walked away. Upstairs again, door closed, lock turned. Not that it would matter. I told myself I just needed one more night. Just get through this. Sleep it off. Tomorrow I'd go to the library, or call a friend, or rent a hotel room. One more night. I didn't know that tomorrow would be too late. Around 6:00 p.m., my fingers were dancing across the keyboard again, my rhythm returning. I was just beginning to feel that click of clarity when bam! My bedroom door crashed open. Tyler stood there drunk, Jake and Brandon trailing behind him like shadows. The scent of beer hit me first, then the words. "Still at it, huh?" Tyler slurred arms spread like he owned the place. "You know what your problem is, Amber. You don't know how to have fun." I minimized my screen and saved. Instinct. "I have fun," I replied cautiously. "Just not when I'm on a deadline." Jake snorted. "Her idea of fun is probably debugging code." I ignored them, turned back to my laptop. "Can you please just leave me alone?" I asked. "This section needs to be finished tonight." Tyler stepped closer, looming. "No," he said. "I don't think I will." Something in his tone sent a chill down my spine. "I'm tired of walking on eggshells because precious Amber needs quiet for her little school project. You act like you're so important." "Because I asked for respect," I said, standing now backing toward the wall. Brandon wandered to my bookshelf and picked up one of my glass academic plaques. "Whoa, she's got trophies. Nerd trophies. Put that down," I said, my voice cracking. Tyler stepped even closer. "You know what, I think you need a break, sis. Come downstairs, have a beer, be a normal person for once." I shook my head. "Just give me an hour. I'm almost done." He laughed. But it wasn't humor. An hour, a day, a week. "You always need something." His voice hardened. "Mom and Dad think you're so special, with your fancy degree, your stupid thesis." My heart pounded. I'm sick of hearing about Amber the genius. He glanced at my screen, the code still visible. "This is it, huh?" he muttered. The precious thesis. He reached toward the laptop. "Tyler, don't." He grabbed it. "Don't," I lunged, but he held it out of reach. My stomach dropped. "Let's see how important this really is. No, Tyler, please." And then, in one horrific alcohol-fueled movement, he slammed my laptop to the floor. The screen cracked. Plastic snapped. But he wasn't done. He raised his foot and stomped. Once, twice. Shards of screen. Keys scattering. I screamed, fell to my knees, gathered the broken pieces in shaking hands. 18 months. Gone. Just like that. "Oh my God," I whispered. "Why would you do this? Jake and Brandon were frozen." Brandon finally muttered, "Dude, that was messed up." Tyler shrugged. "It's just a computer. She can get another one." I didn't speak. Couldn't. I clutched what remained of my thesis to my chest and ran, down the stairs, into the kitchen, where my parents were laughing, arranging snacks for the party. Mom, Dad, he destroyed it. Tyler destroyed my laptop. On purpose, I held up the wreckage, screen dangling by threads, keys missing, the motherboard exposed. My mother looked annoyed. "Oh, sweetie, you're too sensitive. I'm sure it's not that bad." My voice shook. He stomped on it, deliberately. My dad poured another drink, should have backed it up. I did. The last version wasn't on the cloud yet. Tyler sauntered in behind me, his face blank. It was an accident, he lied. "You said, 'Who cares about your thesis?'" I cried. My dad chuckled. "Well, maybe she wasn't meant to graduate." My mom added, "We'll get you a new laptop after spring break. Now come relax." And just like that, the party resumed, as if my future hadn't just been reduced to shattered glass and motherboard dust. That night, I locked myself in the bathroom, sat on the floor clutching the broken pieces like they were bones of a dream, and I broke down. But inside that grief, something new began to rise. Resolve, cold, clear, unshakable. They thought they'd ended my career. They had no idea they'd just lit the fire of my transformation. I don't remember how long I sat on that cold bathroom floor. Maybe an hour, maybe 3. Outside the house throbbed with bass and laughter, my brother's party in full swing like nothing had happened. But inside me, something had changed. Something vital had snapped. It wasn't just the shattered laptop, it was everything. The years of being minimized, of having my work reduced to computer stuff, of watching my family celebrate every step Tyler took, even when it was backward, while I was met with silent shrugs or worse, mockery. And now he'd taken a baseball bat to the one thing I had left my thesis, my future. But he hadn't won. Not yet. I wiped my face, pulled myself up, and took stock. The laptop casing was destroyed, yes, the screen completely annihilated. But there was a chance that the hard drive had survived. I grabbed my phone, hands trembling, and called the only person in my area who might understand the gravity of what had just happened. Rachel. We weren't close. We'd been in a few undergrad classes together, swapped notes, hung out at 1 or 2 coding study groups, but she was solid, grounded, smart, and more importantly, local. When she answered, I could barely get the words out. "Rachel, I'm sorry to call out of nowhere. Something happened. I don't know what to do." She listened. Every agonizing word about the thesis, the laptop, my brother, the mockery. And then she said something that no one in my family had managed to say in years. "Amber, that's not okay. You're not overreacting. You're surviving." I broke down again. "You can crash at my place," she said without hesitation. "My roommate's gone for the week. We have space. Bring whatever you need." That moment, that offer, was the first true act of support I'd received in years. I packed like a machine closed notebooks, chargers, external drive backup notes, a plastic bag for the ruined laptop. Before I left, I overheard my mother in the kitchen say, "Tyler feels terrible. But Amber's always been so dramatic about her schoolwork. Remember the B+ meltdown in 10th grade?" They all laughed. I walked out the door without a word. Rachel opened her apartment door in sweats, hair up, eyes wide with concern. She hugged me tight, grounding. "There's tea, or wine, or both." I collapsed onto her couch and for the first time that day let myself breathe. Then Rachel asked the question that would change everything. "Have you told your thesis advisor yet?" I froze. No, I hadn't. I was too afraid she'd think I was making excuses. "You have to tell her," Rachel said gently. "Professor Martinez will understand, and she might be able to help." So I wrote the email, still shaking. I explained everything what Tyler had done, how my hard drive might be recoverable, how I'd lost at least 72 hours of work. I attached photos of the broken device just in case she needed proof. Then I hit send and held my breath. The reply came the next morning. Amber. I'm appalled by what happened. Come to my office at 9:00 a.m. We will figure this out. Do not lose hope. Those words became my fuel. Professor Martinez was my lighthouse. Her office smelled like mint tea and printer paper, and that morning it became the only place that felt safe. She examined my laptop like it was a crime scene. This wasn't an accident, she said, voice low and firm. He meant to destroy this. I nodded, and my parents laughed. Her eyes hardened. Then they're part of the problem. But let's focus on solutions. You have 6 days until the deadline. We're going to make every minute count. She called Raj, the IT specialist in our department. Within an hour, he was carefully prying open what was left of my laptop. I'll do my best, Raj said, inspecting the fractured casing. Can't promise anything, but maybe the hard drive survived. While Raj got to work, Professor Martinez handed me a lab key card. This gives you 24/7 access to our advanced algorithm lab, she said. You'll have full use of the workstations. I've also cleared it with the department chair. You're officially in thesis triage mode. Tears burned behind my eyes. Not from sadness, but gratitude. What if I can't redo it all in time? Then we request an emergency extension. But first, let's see what Raj can recover. By late afternoon, the verdict came in. 80% recovered, the rest corrupted, gone. My most recent algorithm optimization, gone. The full conclusion section, gone. It's better than nothing, I said numbly. It's enough to rebuild, Professor Martinez replied. We made a timeline, 16-hour workdays. Tasks broken into sprints, recreate the algorithm, rewrite the conclusion, rerun simulations, double-check data. She offered to review each section as I completed them, real-time edits, live feedback. You're not doing this alone, she said, and I believed her. That night, I moved into the lab, literally, slept on a cot in the break room, ate granola bars and vending machine soup, showered in the gym next door. It wasn't pretty, but it was purpose. On day 2, Rachel dropped off clean clothes and a surprise visitor, her cousin Marcus. He walked into the lab with a bag of Thai food and a knowing smile. I heard what happened, he said. I work at Tech Fusion downtown. We specialize in algorithmic data recovery and security. Thought maybe I could help. For the next 2 hours, he combed through my code, offering suggestions, testing logic paths, and streamlining the rebuild. When he left, he handed me a business card. Call me when this is over. We're hiring. And we don't smash laptops. It was the first moment I allowed myself to believe in a future again. Later that day, 3 classmates from my algorithm seminar showed up armed with coffee and laptops. Eliza told us what happened. One of them said, "We've all had tech disasters. You're not alone." For the next 8 hours, we tag-teamed the recovery. We weren't just rebuilding a thesis. We were rebuilding me. By day 4 in the lab, I had become something else. Something more than just a panicked student scrambling to meet a deadline. I had crossed into a new version of myself, one that didn't flinch at exhaustion or fear or even heartbreak. I was focused, fueled. I didn't think about Tyler or my parents or the memory of their laughter echoing in my ears after my life's work was destroyed. But that silence broke the moment I checked my phone during a simulation run and saw the message from my dad. "You've made your point. Come home. Tyler feels terrible. Let's just move on, okay? Just move on." Like nothing happened. Like I hadn't watched my entire thesis, months of effort, get shattered by my own brother while they stood by and blamed me. The rage that swelled up in my chest felt volcanic, so I didn't respond. Not immediately. Instead, I called a small claims legal clinic the university recommended for students. A woman named Monica answered. Calm, efficient, kind. She asked me questions, told me what I needed, told me I had a strong case for property destruction. I met her in person the next day, showed her the photos of my destroyed laptop, my emails with Professor Martinez, the police report I'd quietly filed online the night Tyler attacked my room. Monica's eyes darkened when she read the report. This wasn't an accident. This was malicious, she said, echoing Professor Martinez's words. You're entitled to damages and you're doing the right thing. We drafted the claim. Itemized costs, replacement laptop, external hard drive software licenses, emergency data recovery. Total $3,846.71. I paid the $70 filing fee. I walked out of that courthouse, not with fear, but clarity. Tyler had always believed there would be no consequences, that no matter what he did, someone else, usually me, would absorb the fallout. But not this time. I served the claim notice to my parents' house via registered mail. I knew they'd open it. I knew their reaction would be dramatic. But even I wasn't prepared for the text storm that followed. First, Mom Amber, this is humiliating. Are you really dragging family into court over a laptop? Then Dad, we raised you better than this. Families fight. They don't sue. And finally, Tyler, WTF is wrong with you. You think this will help anything. You're just bitter. I stared at those messages for a long time. Then I typed out one single reply and sent it to all three. I'm not suing my family. I'm holding my abuser accountable. No one responded. Days passed. The silence was louder than any insult. Meanwhile, back in the lab, I hit milestone after milestone. The algorithm optimization was rebuilt and tested. The conclusion chapter rewritten with more clarity than before. Every time I finished a section, I emailed it to Professor Martinez, and every time she replied within hours with notes, praise suggestions. Rachel visited nightly with snacks and check-ins. On day 5, Marcus dropped off a care package with a little note, "Your brain deserves food," and justice. I was beginning to realize that the world was larger than the 4 walls of my childhood home. On the 6th day, 24 hours before my final submission, I printed the completed thesis and held it in my hands. It was real. It existed. I had done it. And then, like a final boss battle, I got another message from my mother. Tyler just lost his job. You really think this is worth it now? Your own brother can't afford rent and it's your fault. There it was again. The emotional manipulation, the gaslighting, the rewriting of cause and effect. I breathed in, and I replied, "It's not my fault. He destroyed something he didn't understand. Actions have consequences. For the first time in his life, he's facing them." The next morning, I defended my thesis. It wasn't perfect. I stumbled once when explaining a portion of the error matrix, but Professor Martinez gave me a subtle nod from the back of the room, and I regained my footing. The panel of faculty applauded when I finished. "Excellent work," one of them said. "Truly outstanding." I walked out of the room and burst into tears, not because I was sad, but because I had survived. A week later, I received my grade, passed with distinction. The same day, a voicemail from Marcus, "We'd like to extend you an offer to join Tech Fusion's development team. You'd be leading an algorithmic security project that's, well, let's just say it needs someone who knows how to rebuild from chaos." And as if the universe was tying a bow on everything, the final court date for small claims came. Tyler didn't show. The judge awarded me the full amount plus court costs. I walked out of that courtroom lighter than I'd felt in years. Because it wasn't just about the money, it was proof. Proof that I wasn't crazy, that what had happened mattered, that I mattered. My family never reached out again after that, not until much later, and when they did. It wasn't the reunion they were expecting. Graduation day arrived with an odd sense of surreal detachment. The sun was high. The quad buzzed with nervous laughter and photo ops, rows of folding chairs filled with proud parents, beaming siblings' camera flashes. I wore the cap and gown like armor, stiff, formal, ceremonial. The university had selected me as one of the 3 student speakers. Professor Martinez had nominated me quietly with a single sentence in the email, "Let them hear what you built in the dark." Standing backstage, I saw the long list of speakers printed on a clipboard. Dean, board chair, 2 alumni, the top STEM graduate, me, my name in bold next to thesis distinction applied, algorithmic justice systems. A mouthful, but it was mine. I stepped up to the mic when called. The crowd quieted. Phones rose. And I took a breath not to impress, but to reclaim something. I want to talk about rebuilding, I began. Not the kind you put on a resume, but the kind you do when no one is clapping. The kind you do in silence, after loss, after betrayal, after watching something you spent years building destroyed in seconds. There was a flicker in the audience. Heads tilted, students straightened, parents exchanged glances. I continued, voice steady. I rebuilt my thesis in 6 days. Not because I wanted to prove a point, but because someone tried to take away what I knew I was capable of, and because others believed I still could. Pause. Let it sit. I learned something through that process. That support doesn't always come from the people you expect. Sometimes it comes from a professor who stays up late editing your drafts, from classmates who bring you coffee at 2 a.m., from a stranger in IT who salvages your broken code, and from the inner voice that says, "Keep going, you still matter." I looked out across the sea of faces, many of them now frozen with recognition. A few jaws clenched, a few eyes welled. In the middle row, I saw them, my family. My mother, arms crossed, lips tight. My father glancing nervously at his phone, and Tyler dressed like he belonged, like nothing had happened. Sunglasses on, smirk in place. They didn't know I could see past the masks. "They say adversity builds character," I said, the ending line rising in my throat like a steel blade. But I believe adversity reveals it. And what I discovered about myself in that lab, in the silence, in the broken places, is that I never needed validation to be valuable. Applause erupted. Not polite, but sustained. Real. I stepped down from the podium with my heart racing but head high. After the ceremony, people surrounded me, students, professors, even alumni I didn't know. One man in his 60s shook my hand and said, "I wish I'd had your courage when I was your age." But my family, they didn't come to find me. I found them lingering near a side tent, sipping punch, like they were waiting for a different daughter to emerge. Tyler was the first to speak. "Well," he said, half laughing, "guess we're the villains in that little speech, huh?" I didn't answer. My mother sighed, reaching for some thin thread of control. "Amber, it's graduation. Can we not?" "No," I cut in, calm, measured. "We can't." They blinked, startled, as if the girl they knew had been replaced. "I gave everything to this, and you stood by when he destroyed it. Then you laughed about it." "Amber, it was a mistake," my father said. "No," I said, "it was a choice. And so is this." I pulled a manila envelope from my bag and handed it to Tyler. Inside, a printed version of the civil court's judgment, 3/8/4671, paid in full from his own account after the state garnished it. He stiffened, lips parting. "I want nothing more from you," I said. "Not money, not apologies, not guilt." "But you're our daughter," my mother began. I stepped back. "And I'm a person, one who deserves respect." Rachel appeared behind me, then holding my cap in one hand, my robe in the other. "You ready?" she asked. I nodded. We walked away together, past the sea of families, toward the street, toward possibility. Behind us, my brother muttered something under his breath. I didn't catch it. I didn't care. That night, I had dinner with Rachel Marcus and 4 of the people who'd helped me survive those impossible 6 days. We toasted with cheap champagne and talked algorithms and art and ethics. I laughed so hard I cried. And for once, the tears weren't from pain. They were from peace. It felt like living for the first time. 2 weeks after graduation, my email pinged with a message that made me freeze mid-bite of cold leftover pizza. Subject offer letter. Tech Fusion Applied Algorithmic Security Division. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't a maybe. It wasn't an unpaid internship wrapped in fancy wording. It was real. $102,000 starting salary, full benefits, relocation stipend, and a line that made my breath catch. We believe in your vision. Marcus had submitted my final thesis to the department's internal think tank. They had read it, really read it, and the VP of Innovation had flagged it personally. They wanted me to lead a small team of research engineers building early warning systems for algorithmic bias in public policy automation. My thesis, the same one Tyler tried to erase, was now the backbone of a real funded initiative. I accepted the offer within the hour. Then I booked a one-way ticket to Seattle. I packed up what little I had left from campus. No family helped, no one offered. Not that I expected them to. Tyler had gone quiet since graduation. Rumor had it he was working part-time at a warehouse. My parents didn't post anything about me online, not even a generic graduation picture. Their silence was a louder message than anything they could have said aloud. But I wasn't waiting for their approval anymore. My new apartment was modest top floor of a walk-up in Capitol Hill with a window that let in the golden hour light just right when I brewed coffee. My team at Tech Fusion brilliant, diverse, kind. My manager Priya pulled me aside after my first presentation and said, "I read your thesis. It's rare someone that young speaks so plainly about harm in systems. We're lucky to have you." I blinked away the lump in my throat. That month, I bought myself a new laptop, not the cheapest one, but the one I always dreamed of affording. I named it Phoenix, and then one night when the Seattle rain tapped rhythmically on my windows, I wrote a Medium article. I didn't name names. I didn't sling blame. I just told the story of rebuilding something after its destruction, of standing up against sabotage, of reclaiming identity after being framed as too much or too ambitious. The post went viral within 48 hours. Dozens of DMs, emails from young women in tech, comments like, "I didn't know I could say no to family until now. You just put 5 years of pain into words I couldn't find. I'm applying to grad school again because of this." I cried quietly in my kitchen, overwhelmed by the idea that my pain had built a bridge for others. The next week, a podcast host from a popular Ethics in Tech series reached out. She wanted to interview me. I said yes, nervous but determined. The episode aired with the title Algorithmic Justice and the Personal Cost of Being First. When it dropped, my inbox exploded again, this time from bigger names. Panels, roundtables, even a tentative invite to speak at South by Southwest. It all felt dizzying, surreal, and in the middle of it, a letter from home. Not a card, not a call, a letter. The envelope was thick and cream-colored, my name written in my mother's handwriting. I sat staring at it for 10 minutes. Inside, a 3-page letter from Dad. The first line read, "Amber, your mother, and I have been reflecting." I knew immediately what it was, the beginnings of guilt spun as reflection. The letter praised my accomplishments vaguely, no specific apologies, no mentions of Tyler's actions, just a tone of strained diplomacy. We'd love to visit sometime, reconnect, maybe start over. I closed the letter. I didn't tear it. I didn't burn it. I didn't respond. Because healing had happened without them. And I wasn't sure I wanted to open the door to people who only came knocking after the world had decided I mattered. I started a new tradition instead. Every Friday, I'd take myself out to dinner solo. I'd bring a notebook. I'd journal one page, not about the past, but about what I was building now, in work, in self, in peace. Sometimes I'd write a single line. I built my life from the ashes of silence. Sometimes a paragraph. He broke my laptop, not my voice. She ignored my pain, but I turned it into architecture. They stayed behind. I moved forward. By spring, I was invited to speak at MIT. That day, I stepped on stage in a blazer my mentor had given me, and heels I bought with my own first paycheck. I looked into the crowd and saw students who looked like me, eager, unsure, maybe one heartbreak away from quitting. I told them this: "You are not too much. You are not dramatic, and you're not overreacting. You're surviving, and survival is the seed of revolution." Applause. After the talk, one girl came up crying. She whispered, "He threw my research off the balcony. I thought it was my fault, until today." I held her, and I thought about the chain of harm we carry, and how sometimes all it takes is one person choosing to end it. I never saw Tyler again after that, not until years later at a conference I wasn't even planning to attend. And what happened then? That's a whole story of its own.